Let's see if I can make a recording. I have a secret to tell you. Yes. Comes from ancient times, from ancient societies where they were experts that knew things that we don't know and don't realize or have forgotten. One of these things is about your birthday. Yep, it's a very special day. The sun goes around, makes a 24-hour turn on your birthday, and the year makes a turn. It takes a whole year. So there's this small thing, big thing relationship. So if you stub your toe halfway through your birthday, my goodness, you could break an ankle halfway through the year. Yeah. Somebody gives you a bunch of money halfway through your birthday. Well, 6 months into the year, you'll get a bunch of money. It's kind of like that. Now, here's a secret. Ancient times, people didn't know their birth times. Only the kings and queens and rich people could have cadres of astrologers against the back wall when the baby was born with their hourglass, and they would know the exact time. Because you have to have the exact time to do this little bit of magic I'm about to share with you. You need your birth time. Because the birthday wanders. Just consider leap year. It wanders one day every year. Now my birthday is happening now. On the birth certificate, it's January 16th. This year it's January 17th, and I'm spending it in Pueblo, Colorado, for a very good reason. And what happens is that if the astrologer, here's the thing, birthday parties, when the king had his solar return, everybody had to take a day off, come in, bring him presents and money and make him laugh. And if the king was laughing and had money coming in and presents all day, that meant he would have laughter and money coming in all year, and that meant the kingdom would prosper. So it was really important, the birthday of the king. So these three wise men were from three different ancient capitals. They all knew this technology. It said kings and queens of England have birthdays all over. Why? Well, because here's the key. If you calculate it properly and precess the chart, and you have a chart of your solar return, if the thing comes up stink, and it's lousy and it's terrible, you're going to have a terrible year. Well, by golly, if you moved over there for your birthday, if you went to Vegas for 3 days, the chart would be different. Yes, that's the secret. And you could turn a bad thing into a good thing. That's why I'm going to Colorado for my solar return. Now, this is an ancient secret. And applying it every year is a chance to kind of change your reality and escape some of the baddies and go for the goodies. So I'll be at the Days Inn in Pueblo, Colorado for a couple of days to make sure I have a super good chart for my solar return on January 17th. A birthday, by the way, better off to say I'm 26.5 degree Capricorn. I share that with Ben Franklin and Muhammad Ali. And anyway, when I learned this technique, almost happened in a way by accident. Okay, this little story involves my number 4 boy, my youngest, Michael. Here I am. This is me 20 years ago with Michael, okay? Now, it happens that Michael's birthday is September 12th. Yes, those of you in Hawaii will remember Aniki. Okay, here's a snapshot of us on Michael's birthday when Aniki went over our house on Kauai and tore it all to pieces. It took the blades of grass out of the lawn. It was terrible, my little place on a Maui road. But here we were in Hilo. Says, hooray! We missed Aniki, and astrology saved us. And this was because of his solar return. I took one look at his solar return, and it was terrible. It looked like a truck was coming through the wall and kill him. Had to get out of there. I didn't have enough money to go to the mainland, but from Poipu Beach to Hilo, you get about 4 degrees. And so I went for it, and we went and rented a little room in Hilo. I had no idea that a Niki was coming. Went there. You're supposed to go there a couple of days before your solar return, so we did. And the day before Aniki, of course, the newspaper said it will miss us. It didn't miss us at all. We sat and watched the eye of the hurricane go right over our house on TV, and had Michael's birthday and solar return. So, in this case, we used it to avoid a real difficulty. Now I'll show you what I'm doing this year. But the hunt for a good place to have your solar return, you can optimize your money. You could help yourself quit smoking tobacco. You could do all kinds of things on that day, no matter where you are. And for a lot of us, especially those of us that are a little older, it's the next day. Precession changes at 1 degree every 72 years. So, you don't want to go out and drink on your birthday. You wake up the next morning with a hangover. You're still on your solar return and you didn't know it, and you're going to be sick all year because you were sick for your solar return with a hangover. Mistakes happen. It's wise to know when your solar return starts, even if you don't go anywhere, even if you just accept what's going on for you in your location, which is what the Hindus say. Jehovah's Witness won't celebrate birthday parties. They know it's a magical ceremony. But I'm arrogant. If I reality, and I have done some amazing work with these things for myself and my family. And here I'm going to do it again. Let me clue you in. Here we go. Okay, you got to calculate by hand is really a careful thing. With most of the good astrology programs, this is my solar fire and all program. But it's got solar returns here, see? And here it says precession corrected. If you don't correct the precession, the 1 degree every 72 years, you'll get bad answer. I've seen ridiculous books on solar returns. If Mars is in the 4th quadrant, blah, blah, blah. No, these things work very accurately. And after you do a few of them, you can go back and do those in your past, which is a good way to learn. Okay, I live in Kona. La'aloa is the ahupua'a here. Anyway, here's the way my solar return, precession corrected, looks if I stay in my house. Okay, here's the first. You read these like any chart, and here we got Aries rising. Okay, first thing I always look for, the rising sign. Here's Aries, and poop, I see the south node in the first house. I might need help. I don't like that. Then here's Uranus in the first house. I could feel weird and left out alone. I don't like that. How about the ruler, Mars? Where's Mars? So there's Mars. He's in the 12th house in Pisces with Neptune there. My goodness, maybe I'll retire to the monastery. But having your ruler in the 12th house isn't good. You sink into obscurity or in an institution or something. Having Neptune there, it could be drugged. I don't want to be drugged. I don't do Neptune work. I do Aquarius. I do Uranus work. No doctoring for me. No, I don't do treatment. I just give you the schedule. So I wouldn't like to be Neptune. Be famous? No, not me. Besides, when you further examine, you see that Neptune has a square. It's to Saturn. Eek! Saturn is the ruler of the 10th house. Here's my career. Uh-oh. Here's Neptune Mars squaring it. There's some, I don't know, somebody, I don't like that at all. That looks like scandal and difficulty and slow down and stopping, and that stinks. Sorry. What can I do about it? Okay, I did 20, 30 charts before I found this. For a while I thought I was going to go to Mexico, but it had that Neptune, had Pisces up on the 10th house. Sorry. So here's the way it looks in Pueblo, which I, came to very scientifically, if you will. First thing you'll notice is I got Uranus here at 1252. That's essentially 13. The south node, which is, these two could be real trouble, but here they sextile my rising sign. My rising sign is 13 Gemini, which means Mercury is the ruler of this chart. So I took the bad guys, the nodes that were really terrible, and the the Uranus, which you know is the Uranus-Pluto square, which haunts us all the time. And I put myself in harmony with Uranus because I do Uranus work. Furthermore, Uranus is the ruler of the 10th house, the other important angle of your chart. And this chart has Venus up at the 10th house. You know, maybe I'll be more pretty and get that tooth fixed. But anyway, that's not bad. Here it is at 20 Aquarius. Now I notice the moon sextiles the midheaven, which is kind of nice, considering the moon is the ruler of the 2nd house here. So here's some money I'm making in my career and a Venus-moon sextile. So I've taken a good thing and set it on this angle. Another thing was bad and helped it with this angle. And in general, I have diffused all the nasty bad stuff here, accented the good stuff. Now the nasty bad things are still here. There's still Mars, Neptune, square Saturn. Here's Uranus still squaring Pluto. You can't take all the ills of life away. But what you can do is tuck them away in places where they're not so important, where they can't totally disrupt everything that happens in your life for a year. I compromised a lot on my solar return last year, and I finally just said, well, I'll take Saturn sextile the rising and I'll get through it. And I took a lot of other bad planets, and you know, this time I was very careful where I picked this. And this Mercury, the ruler of the rising sign, well, it's 5 degrees off the midheaven, so it's essentially the top planet in the chart. So I got Mercury at the top. That's me. I'm the teacher, and it's my intention to teach a lot more, and I want to write a book. I want to write a big book. This is my year to write, you know, astrology for 9-year-olds and simplify it and turn people on in a real way to it. So that's my ambition, and that's where I'm going with this solar return chart. Starts at 2 o'clock Saturday the 17th and goes through Sunday at 2. So wish me the best, and it's going to be cold, I know that, but it's worth it to get that good Mercury. Mercury stopping, trining the rising sign, hooray! Writing, talking, teaching, you know, run. Wouldn't it be lovely to run again? Whoosh. It's wise to be realistic, though. I'll be 74. Wish me happy birthday. Aloha. By the way, if you have a bad square or opposition on your solar return in Hawaii, jump to Vegas. It shifts the whole thing just about 30 degrees. It can turn a square into a trine. It's an amazing thing. Simple lots of times for most folks. Well, we're going to get into the 3rd week of January, starting Friday the 16th, my official birthday. I'm lucky I don't go celebrate on the 16th, huh? Because if solar returns on the 17th, I could go celebrate, get a big hangover, wake up sick. Sick all year. Okay, let's go through this day by day, give you some heads up. There's a lot of nasty things going on in the sky mirror. I got to be up front with you and tell you there's a lot of bad lunations, bad planets. Some of it's focused on the East Coast, and I'm checking President Obama and the chart of the USA government, and I don't like what I see. So you could be having some emergencies here. Okay, let's start here. Thursday night, the moon's creeping up. That's the 15th on Saturn. And early Friday morning, the moon's going by Saturn. Brrr, it's cold. Damn, I'm in Colorado. Here's a square to Neptune. There's problems with liquids in the morning. Glad my solar return doesn't start then, but you're going to have a tough time Friday morning. You could lose things. There could be fires and problems with chemicals and aggression that's over-dramatized Friday morning. This is not a good time. You could be having some emergency things going on, particularly over there near New York. So, not all. By the time you get to Friday night, though, here late, Well, here's sextiles to Mercury and to Venus, and there's good talk and some lovingness. And early Saturday morning, here's Jupiter trine, yeah. So it turns and changes. You stay up late, go Saturday morning, not bad at all, huh? My solar return starts about here. So the moon's in Sagittarius Friday, Saturday. Not so good early Friday. Get better in the evening. Okay all day Saturday. Moon shifts into Capricorn on Sunday. And you're back in the emergency zone. The moon's going by Pluto here in the middle of the day. It likes Neptune and Mars. Oh yeah, everybody, the heroes are out with the flags. But it's full emergency. And we had a full moon on this at 14 degrees. And, geez, there's going to be craziness here. And this is the 18th this is Sunday. This is a tough time, and you could feel alone and have glitches and power problems and outages of electricity of all kinds. The moon going by Pluto, police again, guns, volcanoes. Okay, so it's a day of emergency. It goes into Sunday night is where it really hits. This little mark here. Here's midnight. Sunday the 18th. My solar return is over at 2, so hopefully I won't have that in my chart. But doggone, Sunday night, you'd be lucky if you can get to sleep. And Monday morning, there could be sirens and could be still emergencies. Goes all the way through Monday till you get to Monday night. And finally, you're in the range of the sun. And here's a new moon coming up at 1 Aquarius. It's sextile Saturn over here. It settles things down, gets you organized, feels like the world will be okay for a while. You got enough money. That's Tuesday morning. Nice new moon. Sextile Saturn, good for Santa Claus. As you go through Tuesday, the moon's in Aquarius, and in the end of Tuesday, here about 10, 11 o'clock, there's a nice sextile to Uranus. Astrology is shining. Here on Wednesday morning, we got the conjunction to Mercury. Now, Mercury slowed down and stopped. Listen to those kids. Your mind, their genius is loose. Mercury is sextiling Uranus. Yes. It's opposing Jupiter. Doesn't like lawyers and professors too much. Wednesday afternoon, here's a nice conjunction to Venus, and there'll be some lovingness and some sweets around. Wednesday's a pretty good day. Play with the kids and somebody you love. Thursday, the moon shifts into Pisces. And it changes again. Here's the confusion. Here's the fires. Here's the religious fanatics. Mars conjunct Neptune. Oh yeah, time to set off the fires and go rage. And this is confusion over what you're protecting. And I want to be very leery of what goes on here Thursday during the day, especially if there's a lot of strong feeling behind it. You get some control here about 10, 11 o'clock Thursday night with a sextile to Pluto, and maybe Friday will be okay. There's no significant angles to anything, but you get to Saturday here, and moon goes into Aries. You're back in emergency. Difficulties starts right away with, there's a trine to Saturn actually at breakfast time. You're kind of organized, and a sextile to the sun in the middle of the day. The emergency doesn't come up until late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, the 25th. And the moon's going by Uranus. It's hitting that full moon point. We're all going to be thinking about our electricity and our media and feeling weird and independent and jittery and earthquakey and twirlies, hurricanes, tornadoes, stuff like this. It's disruption. It's happening on your weekends, isn't it? Son of a gun. All right, I'm doing these shows early. I'm here on the day before Christmas. Kind of feel a little bit like this. Hope you do. But I know we're on a bad lunation, and we got some really tough planets coming up. And so the segment I'm about to do, especially for you folks in New York, is not something I'm enjoying. I'd much rather be doing your chart and telling you about how long the Saturn stuff lasts before I make money and how soon the goodies come up. That's the fun part about being an astrologer. Anyway, let's get to it. Got a job to do. Before I go, thank you so much for your cards and kind words of encouragement. It's important to me. Look, this lovely lady remembered the red bird. Anyway, a little word of advice about this whole thing this country is going through, okay? And that is that, here's words from Stokely Carmichael was a Black Panther back in Oakland where I was raised. And I was raised amongst wonderful hippies and Black Panthers and Hell's Angels, and everybody got along. And the policemen, they were scary, but they didn't bother people too much. Anyway, at one point, the Oakland police decided to demonize the Black Panthers, who were doing wonderful work in West Oakland. And these were tall guys from Woodstock, and they were strong, and scared those policemen. Well, that little war kind of started and eventually wound up. The Panthers went up in the Oakland Hills and knocked over a couple of those big towers, and all the power went out for the East Bay, and they couldn't get them up and running for a couple of days. And the Panthers said, "Hey, listen, you stop messing with us because you're vulnerable, Okay, well, on to New York. There's some very wise men in the Black Panthers party. Stokely Carmichael said, listen, it's the institution. And that's the word I have for everybody out there, especially those of you in New York and folks of color. And believe me, Woodstock generation has been rousted and jailed and property taken away over pot as much as black people have, stop and frisk. So it's the institutions. Policeman doesn't want to carry that gun. Here's the challenge. If you get the policeman in New York to stop carrying pistols, they got tasers and they got, gas weapons, and they don't need those things. They don't want to carry them. It scares them. Yeah, believe it or not, the policemen are just guys like you, and they're victims of the institution. The institution has to change, not the people. That's what Stokely Carmichael said. Now look, we got that nasty, lunation, that full moon on Pluto and Uranus, and it's passing through this New York, even up to Boston area. Wow. Okay, here's the way the chart looks in New York on January 4th. Now this goes all the way through the first part of February, and sometimes these last longer, but here's the moon at the top of the chart, 14 degrees of Cancer, opposing the sun and Pluto at 14 Capricorn, squaring Uranus and the nodes. Makes a big grand cross. The essence is the people are out here in public life kind of taking a beating here, and there's power and control issues over the home. And all of this is made worse by Uranus in square over here. Now I'm remembering when the Panthers knocked those towers down, when your electricity goes out, here's the first thing. Everybody in New York is irritated at Uranus. Homeless people? Not likely. This is power companies. This is internet. This is, stuff that can be sabotaged by hackers and stuff. Here's the moon up here. People would like to go out, but they're having control problems in the home. Now you'll see a lot of people, the moon are the people here, opposing Pluto. Pluto's a policeman. The guy would really prefer to stay home. What am I doing out here, the average policeman says. They make me carry this ridiculous lethal weapon on my belt to make me scared and scare everybody else. So suppose all the cops in New York just took off their handguns. Yeah, they could carry a taser, they can carry a baton, they can carry their pepper spray. They don't need it. Because see, it's the institution, folks. And people are afraid to change. Who changes those institutions? They've been going on for a long time. You go back and look at the history of policing in the U.S. It all started over holiday glee. And, look at the old movies. Those guys aren't carrying guns. They swing a little club on a little thingy there. It's the institution. Take away those pistols, the whole thing calm right down. The problem with this month of displacement and challenge and perhaps violence even with Mars coming up to hit Neptune could be misplaced violence and overprotectiveness. And here people are being territorial about their homes, Sun, Pluto at the bottom of the chart. So, when I decided to look into it a little more, and I'm a little disturbed by what I found. Ancient astrologers always looked at the kingdom, then the king. So here's the kingdom. And the kingdom, we had a full moon January 5th. It's on the sun. Who's the sun? Could be the boss, the father figure. Squares Saturn. Who's Saturn? The bankers. The guys that, are really upset because they don't have the right to speculate now. They're trying to do some stuff. So now what happens is Saturn in the sky is moving up here to where when Pluto hit here, we had 9/11. Now Saturn's going to move up here and stop on March 13th and go backwards, and it's very challenging. It's like we have an enemy. Is it the banker? Is it the old guy? Is it whoever it is? It's opposing the body at 5 Gemini. So this is suddenly there's a problem. And the fact is Saturn's going to go back and come back up for 6 months later. So this could last all through an election year, is it? No, not quite. Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th of March. Challenge to the U.S. government. Okay, take a look at the king. And the full moon on February 3rd is on the sun. The sun rules the 7th house. Open enemies. Here's men threatening him. Looking at his progress chart, and here progress Mars and Mercury is opposing the rising sign. Violent young men squaring his Jupiter. Not so good. Okay, here's the president's chart again. And the new moon, January 20th, wrapped around it. And he's got Jupiter opposing him. Mercury's there. He's going to say things. Jupiter isn't going to like it. And Jupiter is his enemy for a month. And now Saturn is up here at 2 Sag, see? And it's opposing his moon at 3 degrees. He's about to have a bummer. And it could last 6-7 months. This goes back and forth. Another thing about his chart shows up is a progressed moon. Here's his progressions, okay? We're on the edge of the chart. The progressed moon moves about 1 degree per month. So it's going to move up here and square his rising sign, make his body uncomfortable. That's February 4th. It's exact. And he's going to have some real trouble here. With Saturn opposing his moon, eek. Okay, this is transiting Saturn, 10th house of career, slowing down his career. Opposes his moon January 29th, peaks out the middle of March, comes back again on April 28th and opposes his moon, and then it finishes and opposes his moon 10/24. President could be not so high. He might need some help. He may not be doing his work and his job here during this period, or he could be under tremendous stress, and worried about his health and his job. And so I don't know if this is a separate thing from what's happening to the country or whether it's all connected, but it could be connected. So New York, stay home on the weekends. That was a tough one.